Welcome to this video, where we will talk about the movie Mortal Kombat. We will be exploring the movie storyline, summarizing its plot, and discuss the cast and characters. Then we will take a closer look at the film production details and box office performance. Finally, we will share review and the audience reaction to give you a well-rounded perspective. Let's get started. Mortal Kombat Japan 1617 Hanzo Hasashi is living peacefully in his compound with his wife Horumi and son Toshi, as well as other members of the Shiryaru clan as he goes to gather water. Assassins from the Line Koi clan, led by B-Han, invade and kill the other villagers. B-Han goes to Hanzo home to threaten his family with his ice power. When he hears Harumi screams, he runs back to his home and finds her and the Toshi frozen to death. He can only briefly mourn before must he defend himself. Using his own blade, he fights off and slaughters the other assassins before going after B-Han. The two fights heavily until B-Han drives a blade deep into Hansen's shoulder. He tells his killer to remind his face. Hanzo then hears the sound of his body daughter. Hanzo then hears the sound of his baby daughter crying in his home. He tries crawling toward the house, but he dies. We see a dragon-shaped mark on his arm. Before his body burns up and it disappears, a bolt of lightning strikes and out step Master Raiden. He takes Hanzo's daughter with him. To another realm. Text appears stating that the Earthrealm is under threat of attack from the Outworld unless selected champion from the Hasashi bloodline can step forward. Jump ahead to the present day, where Kolo Young is set to the computer in an double MA fight with the only his wife Elia and daughter Emily to spot him. During the fight, Klaus gets in a few hits but is ultimately pinned down by his opponent. Despite Emily attempts to lift her dad's bridge, Cole ultimately taps out before he is cooked into unconsciously. After the fight, Cole is approached by a man named Jack Briggs, who noticed that Cole has a mark on his chest similar to the one seen on the Hanzo. Close dismiss it as nothing more than a birthmark. Meanwhile, Close is also plagued by a vision of the Hanzo surrounded by the flames. In Outward, B-Han, now going by the Sub-Zero, approach his master, Shang Tsung, as they are making plan to overtake Earthrealm. They know that a descent of Hanzo alive, but Sub-Zero see no threat. Gol and the ally take Emily out for the dinner when it appears to start snowing, deposit being July. The table around Emily frees and the Sub-Zero starts making his way down the street. He brings hell down on the people but Cole gets Emily to safety. The family is saved by Jax, who drives them away and shows Close that he has the same dragon making on his body. Jax gets the Youngs to safety and tells Cole to find Sonya Blade. Jax goes off to face Sub-Zero on his own, but the foe proves to be a real theaters when he freezes Jack's gun before freezing and shattering both of his arms and leaving him for the dead. Cole has Alia and the Emily get somewhere. Chloe has the Ellie and the Emily get somewhere safe while he seeks out Sonya. He tracks her down to a junkyard where she literally attacks him until Cole shouts her the mark and says Jack sent him. Sonya brings Cole into her trailer where she explained to him that Sub-Zero has been after other people who bear the mark. Sonya does not have it, but Jax does after they came across a superpower target that the Jax 4 out who already had the mark, and after killing the man, the mark passed itself on to Jax. Sonya research has led her to find out about an Asian tournament known as a Mortal Kombat. Sonya has to capture a ruthless American named Kano, who also has the mark and the work from the Black Dragon clan. Moments later, Sonya home is attacked by the Shang Tsung's henchmen reptiles. The creature used camouflage to attack, but the cannot gets free and the purchases fights through reptile chest, pulling out his the heart. With her research destroyed in the attack, Sonya does not know what the next move is until Kano states that they know she is trying to make it the temple of the Raiden and know where it is. Sonya lies to Kano and they offer him $3 million to help guide her and Chloe to the locations. They head off into the deserts where they are met by one of the Radiant's champion who has fire abilities. He explained to them the urgency of the defending Earthrealms since they have lost 9 of the Mortal Kombat tournaments, and one more loss means Shang Tsung can be arrive to computer it. Liu Kang showed that has rounded up the remaining champions that he could included Jax, who is still unconscious from his fight with the Sub-Zero. Liu Kang assures Sonya that the other people working in the temple will do what they can to help Jax. Liu Kang brings calls Sonya and the Kango to meet Raiden, who is unimpressed by them. Before they begin training, Shang Tsung arrives at the temple with the Sub-Zero and his dynamic henchwoman Marina. As Sub-Zero attacks Liu Kang, he is saved by his cousin, Kung Lao. Shang Tsung prepares his own attack, but the Raiden step out to remind him that it is forbidden to claim victory before the tournament has begun. He then creates a force field around the temple to prevent the Outworld villains from the continue their attacks, forcing them to leave. Liu begins to train the champions by helping them unlock their inner power or arcana, which is why he has fire power and Raiden has lighting power. Sonya is not allowed to join the others because she is not one of the chosen champions. She goes to Jack's side where he is awake and discovers he has mechanical arms. Although he attempts to make use of them, he feels useless and the weakers with them. Cole and he cannot get there. Assist beat by Liu Kang and the Kang Lo. Liu Kang tries to help Kola achieve his arcana by figuring out what it is that drives him. The fighters have dinner, where Kango runs him mouth too much, and Liu Kango and the Kango Lao antagonize him by setting he is the impulsive and the powerless, making him an unworthy fighter. Kango Snape, which the actually activities his arcana and the cases him to fire a laser beam from his right eyes. Cole later take to Raiden about the dragon marking. Raiden explained to Cole that he is descended from the Hanzo bloodline, especially from the baby that the Raiden rescued in the being. He also tells Kola that the visions he sees in Hanzo wandering through the hell, waiting for the day he can get his revenge on Sub-Zero. When Cole feels that he is not a worthy champion, Radiants open the portal to send him back to Earthrealm to be with Elia and the Emily. Shang Tsung gather more fighters for his next attack, included the Demon Nidra, the Monster Prince Goro, the British Rekko, and the mercenary Kabul, who has a personal guards with cannon since they used to work together with the Black Dragon clan, and cannot lift the Kabul for the dead forcing him to wear his special new suit. Kabul does also feel that Kano would be a good ally for Shang Tsung's arm. Kabul meets Kano at the temple and convinces him to define and join forces with the Shang Tsung. He uses his laser to destroy the force-fired Shang Tsung and his missions attack the temple, while Goro goes after Cole and his family. In the attack, Gons fight Melina, but the latter choose not to kill Sanaya because she is not a chosen and one who feels her death would be a waste. Kabul fights Liu Kang and they overpower him. Jax fights Rico but it's overpowered and the beauties knock him and Sunaya out before attempts to crash them under a plotter. Feels her death would be a waste. Cable fights Liu Kang and he overpowers him. Jax fights Rico but is the overpowered and the beauties knock him and Sunaya out before attempting to crash them under a plotter. Jax tries to lift the boulder of the Snaya, which helps him find his arcana and decreases the arms to grow in size and the strength. Nitara swoops down for an attack, but Kangolo fights her and they perform a fatality by using his metal has and the buzzsaw, slicing Nitra in half down the middle. Goro is laying coal into the dirt until he starts to make his way toward Elia and the Emily. Feeling the need to protect his family, Cole's Akrana is the unlock, with his body being covered in the golden armor and allowing him to create blades to help him fight Goro. First links off one of his forearms and then impaling him through the eyes to kill him. Raiden sends this and the Smons call back to the temple, revealing his bloodlines to Shang Tsung and Sub-Zero. Raiden pre-appears to bring the champions to the void for the protection, but the Shang Tsung garbs Kung Lao and they sunk his soul out, killing him and forcing Liu Kang to watch. Liu Kang mourns his cousin while the rest of the heroes try to fight out a strategy for the fighting Shang Tsung's forces. Raiden presents Cole with the Hanzo coin that was the recover after his death and he encouraged Cole to use it. Cole decides that they should take on the villains in the style of a tournament. Raiden implores the champions to take on their respective opponents. Jax is sent to fix Raiko with his new arms, although Raiko tries to bring Jax down with his warm water. Although Rico tries to bring Jax down with his warmer. Jax disarms him and uses his arm to trunk Rico's head input the past. Sunaya is sent back to their trailer for the fight Kano, which ends with her impaling him through his eyes and his marking is passed down to her as Kola is fighting Melina. Sunaya comes to help and uses her newfound arcana powers to fire a prism beam from her arms to blast a hole through Melina's stomach. Liu Kang faces Kabul again and uses his own fatality, a fire dragon move that causes Kabul and he burns him to a crisp. Sub-Zero goes to Earthrealm and he finds Alia and the Emily, where he frees them alive. Cole is supposed to fight Sub-Zero, but the villains prove to overpower him. When Skola blood touch, the canny there brings Hanzo back from the hell, where he returned to battle his nemesis with the Kola help. Corbin uses his heart to review Alia and the Emily before meaning to trap Sub-Zero and use his own firepower to burn Sub-Zero to death. Before going back, Scorpio thanks Kola for freeing him and asks him to keep the bloodline alive. Shang Tsung appears once more to retrieve the bodies of his figures, meaning they may be brought out back to life, but Raiden business him back to Outworld. Raiden then tells his champions that they are victorious but they must gather more fighters for when Shang Tsung plans the next attack. Kolya is at the game where he normally fights and tells the promoters he is finally quitting and going to Hollywood. When asked what's in Hollywood, Kola says not what, Who the camera then pans over to show Kola is looking for superstar fighter Johnny Cage. The Mortal Kombat tournament is a battle between Earthrealm and the Outworld, as the champions of the Earthrealm must present the evil forces from the Outworld from the conquering making. Struggling double MA fights, Kola Young is found by Jack Springs after seeing that he bears a dragon mark. Like other chosen to be the Earthrealm champions, an ice power assassin named Wu centuries earlier murdered Kola Anchors, Hanzo Hasashi and his family is out to kill the champions and they frees Jack's arms off and leaves him for the dead. Kola teams up with the Jack's partner Sonya Blade and the mercenary named Kano to find the Temple of the Raiden, where they will train for the tournament. They are found by Liu Kang, who trains them into the unlocking their special power or the arcana. Sonya does not bear a mark like the other two, so she is not trained like they are. Shang Tsung leaders of the Outworld villains attempt to attack Raiden Temple to kill the champions, but Raiden puts up forceful around the temple. Shang Tang later gathers Sub-Zero and the other fighters like the Melina, Nitidia, Draco, Goro, and the Cabal to fight. Cabal convince Kano to turn on the other and help them attack. In the fight, Liu Kang positions Kung Lao kills Netera, but Shang Tsung takes Kung Lao's soul. Meanwhile, Kola unlocks his arcana by fighting and killing Goro when he attacks Kola family before Raiden brings him back to the temple. After Raiden brings the other into the void for the protections, Kola says that they need to split up to fight the villains. Jax with his new super strong mechanical arms fight and he kills Raiko, while Sonya fights and kills Kano, inheriting his dragon mark and helping Kola kill Melina. Liu Kangos kill Kabal and the Kola must fight Sub-Zero after frees his wife and the daughter. During the fight, close blood touches Hanzo Kwani, which helps bring Hanzo's soul back from hell to come back as a scorpion to battle Sub-Zero. After freezing Kolo family, Scorpion uses his power to burn Sub-Zero to the death. Shaq Tuzim reclaimed the bodies of his fight before Raiden asked the other to look for more fighters. Kohli star by going to Hollywood to seek out Johnny Cage. Box office. Mortal Kombat pulls ahead of surprisingly strong Demon Slayer. For the first time since the pandemic struck, more than one movie opened to notable stick sales at the domestic box office. The results fueled the biggest overall weekend of the COVID-19 era, according to ComScores, with an estimated $54.2 million in the revenge across all reported North American theaters. Hollywood is the pointing to the performance of the Mortal Kombat and Demon Slayer, the top earners of the weekend, as the clearest indication yet that audiences are ready to return to the movie after nearly a year of the starring home to streams. Mortal Kombat, a martial arts inspired adaptation of the popular video game, took an a robust $22.5 million from 3,073 domestic releases. Those receipts rank as the second biggest debut of the pandemic following Godzilla vs. Kong, which premiered to $31 million in the March. Warner Bros. Released both of those titles and made them available to streams simultaneously on the HBO Max for the month. A strategy the story is developing for its interior 2021 slate. Deposit mixed review. The R-rated Mortal Kombat Norway niches first place on the domestic cards after a surprisingly close race against Demon Slayer. In a not so distant second, Demon Slayer earned a solid $50.9 million from 1,598 locations through Saturday and is estimated to notch $19.5 million over the weekend. The anime action adventure from the from the Funimations and the Aniplex has been a massive commercial hit in the international market such as the Japan, where it certainly ranks as the highest grossing movie ever with the $365 million in total. Demon Slayer has escaped the $400 million mark globally. Box office analysts have been encouraged by the 1-2 push of the Mortal Kombat and the Demon Slayer, especially since only about 55% of the cinemas in the country have resumed operations. Multiplex that have reopened have been required to cap attendance in line with the local government guidelines. In Los Angeles, for example, that means admissions are limited to 50% capacity or 200 people. In New York, theaters have been premiered to operate at 50 at 25% at 25% capacity and at 25% capacity and will be able to expand to 33% starting on the Monday. This weekend is another very good step, said David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting from the franchise movie going shoot. This weekend is another very good step, said David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting from the franchise. Movie going should start to normalize in the early June. That's around the time that the potential blockbuster included A Cult Base Part 2. In the Heights and the Fast and Furious sequel F9 are expected to open. Overseas, Mortal Kombat had already launched with the $21 million. It collected an additional $6.3 million from 37 foreign territories this weekend, boasting its international tally to $27.6 million. The film, broadcast by New Line Chinese from a model $55 million, has collected an additional $6.3 million from 37 foreign territories this weekend, boasting its international tally to $27.6 million. The film, broadcast by New Line Cinema for a modest $55 million, has generated $50 million globally to date. Simon MC Quiet, in his features debut, directed Mortal Kombat, which stars Lois Tan, Jesse's MC names Josh Lawson, Tadanobu Asan, and the Ams Brooks, among other wide release. Godzilla vs. Kong landed in third place with a $4.2 million from 2,856 fancies. After 4 weeks in theaters, the Warner Bros. And the legendary Monsters mashup has assumed $86.5 million. The film, which is available on the HBO Max through the end of April, has surpassed $400 million at the global box office. With those ticket sales, it has outpaced Christopher Nolan's confusing skiffy feast patches stand as the highest-grossing Hollywood blockbuster since Conversations upstand the movie theater business. It's evident that Godzilla vs. Kong is the relenting moviegoer everywhere and that audiences are more than ready to return to the theaters where and when it's safe for a big screen experience like this one, said Jeff Godzilla, Warner Bros. President of the domestic distribution. He added that Mortal Kombat performance only empowered his point. This weekend was a real win for the industry. Godzilla said. In fourth Universal, nobody pulled in $1.86 million in fifth weekend in the theaters. Starting Bob Odenkirk as a Take No Precedent father of two movie has grossed $21 million in the USA and $38 million worldwide. Audience can also rent Nobody on demand for a $20 rental fee, thanks to an agreement that the Universal hammered out with the theater Chinese such as AMC and the Cinemark. Rounding out the top 5 is Destiny Ria and The Last Dragon and the animated adventure that also playing on the starting service Tencel Plus for an extra $30. The movie created towards younger audience added another $1.6 million to its domestic total, which currently started at $39.8 million. In limited release, lecture states together a sweet story about parenting, friendship made 522, 440 from the 665 screens, translations to the $786 per theaters. Directed by the Nicola Bagwith, the movie premiered at the Sundance Film Festival to strong review. It started at Helma and the Patty Harrison. Mortal Kombat 2021 film, directed by Simone MC Quiet, produced by James Wan, Todd Cranner, screenplay by Gargo Rush, David Clamp, story by Orson Ozale, Greek Rush, starting Levistan, Jessia MC Name, Joss Leeson, Tenbo Asens, Megat Brox, Louis Lin, Jean Han, Joe Teslim, Hiroyuki Senda, Max Young, CC Stranger. The article is about 2021 movie. For other use of the word Mortal Kombat, sees the distinct speech name Mortal Kombat. Earthrealm is on the very of the coast review should it lose when the savage realm of Outworld will invade. But an ancient property foretells that a new group of the champions will be united by the race of the Hanzo Hasashi blood. Mortal Kombat is a fantasy action movie based on the popular Mortal Kombat series of the fighting games pulled by the Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and they serve as a robber to the Mortal Kombat and the Mortal Kombat animation. The film is rated 2. In 7th century Japan, Han and the assassins of the Liu Kang attacks and they kill Hanzo Hasashi of the Sharia movie Mortal Kombat 2021. A lot of people were really high on this movie, so I was expecting another rate positive review in this marathon of the almost interior poor film, but sadly I was mistaken. The great opening scenes released online was a distraction as pretty much everything after the opening is not very good. The movie is laggy, animations exist, otherwise the world look extremely poor in it. Oh well, let's take a closer look at see if it can or the least closer as well as the most recent game released before this date. I mentioned the fun opinion which sees features Scorpion Hanzo Hashi come home to the slaughter of his people and wipe by him hand Sub-Zero. We immediately see a key difference through as Hanzo dies, we see his infant child survive and is the rescue by the Raiden. Fast forward to present day and the descents of the Hanzo. Collie Young is a particle poor hard on his leg and sigh my good is he ever. Descent of the Hanzo Cole Young Levistan is a particularly poor MMA fighter's head on his leg and the psych my god is he ever roaring. Why they thought the interior cast of the Mortal Kombat was not good enough that they had to make these eye of the audience characters, I have no idea. Would it have been so hard to say in this universal Liu Kang was he taken away from the temple and grew up in the USA unaware of his destiny? That would have the exact same effort but had Congo as the lead characters like the game. Here Kola Young has all the hallmark of an extremely dull protagonist with an added caveat of not even being from the game. No offense, no Mr. Tan, but he is not exactly a fan actor either not. Then he had managed to work with the meaning. The center of the film is a David of the interest. Well, anyway, Cole is attacked by the Sub-Zero but is rescued by the Jax, and it's here we start to hear about more completely unnecessary change to the role. Cole has a dragon mark on his body. He was born with the Jax tell him he has one too. In this world, people born to define Earthrealm are the born with those mark and leather. We see it you have those mark you can access your green or the special movie like the energy protections and the fire manipulations etc. So again instead of just having this be a fancy word where such a feat are where just a feats are a fact they wrote a whole things to explain why some people can fire beam from their eye. Like they are embraced by the concept and felt and needed to explain it. in a real concept or something. It's completely unnecessary exhibitions and just part of so many pointless lore change. And it's not like MK has deep lore either. So sang to sung, chain hand, nowhere near as the cosmic as the original film versions. Only need to win one more Mortal Kombat to be allowed to invade Earth, but probably states that the descendants of the Hanzo Hasashi will until the Earthrealm Warriors etc., which is the journal setups. So not only is the call a dull character, B he has a chosen one, Eric Creed. Kola and Disneyya, along with the criminal Kano, are invited to train with the Liu Kang and the Kung Lao. Paul Jax has a robot arms after a brief tussle with the Sub-Zero earlier, and all but Sonya have the special dragon mark. Cole does not do well in the training and can't unlock the power of his arcana, so is sent home. Deposit the fact he is apparently the key to this plan, and it's his own word he has taken there because he has and the family were not safe without Raiden protection and would not it he attacked by the Goria as soon as he gets home. And Go Sempon does the voice, not every natural looking CG did the nobody. Bring back particle effects Goro. Okay, maybe out. Kango batteries everyone and they lost the temple they were training at to be attacked by a few other MK characters at the same time. The fighting is fine but quite dull beyond the odd over-the-top crow fatality and the apart from the Lucien Cano being a great cook villain with some good lines. Most the actors are pretty flat through in a really crap non-ending and the film is just not every good. Deposit the fat lady beings cool which I was imagine is what applied to so many when it first came out. Mortal Kombat nails the vessels of the more recent game interiors but the completely fumbles in the handling the lore and the choreography entertainment fight scenes. The cast with the one or two expectations are extremely flat and the other film accelerations protagonist is among the dulls of the lot. The MK film commits the critical sins of the being boring, where at least the first MK film was not cheesy, it was funny. Like the source material itself, these attempts at realistic take on the MK lore feels spectacular. Kanga Lo is killed and everyone else is the beaten pretty and the Valkol unlock his Tacreen, a full set of the body armor that the historic knight, energy and the fire is back at this opportunity allowing him to beat Goro with the beats on strength rather than learning how to fight himself. Radiant takes everyone to a special volley to plan their next move and the goal suggests speeding everyone up with the device and then everyone take on Sub-Zero at once, which you did think sending everyone after one enemy, one at a time would have made more sense, but they hope. Sonya kills Kano and gets his dragon marks and the energy fire arcana while using mentions in the Mylina. Cable and the Natira are all defeated in their win on the first but during his Sub-Zero captures Kola extremely cookies Grant family and they freeze them to the work of his double MA team. Collie had there and to take on Sub-Zero by himself, completely going against his own plan, and does not do well until the spirit of the Hanzo in full Scorpio get up appears and after a quick fight with his Asian teams up with his and she to their family feud. It was not a very interesting fight, probably because Chloe kept getting in the way of us finally seeing a big Sub-Zero with Scorpio match on the screen. The funny thing is that it was so unspectacular that I thought to myself right and how he returns with the everyone and takes on the Shang Tsung for the climax but knobs everyone arrives Shang Tsung act anyone and the promise to bring and the arms next time and that it's a complete challenger ending as the Radiant says they need to collect other warriors who I guess won't have been dragon tattoos and their cons. Perhaps not going against their or newly established Laura it will be then. And we get a fun mind credit scene of Jax going after Johnny Cage. Luckily, there is a second movie, but it was a clue run things. You should never just assume you will do good enough to warrant a sequel and leave this many plot threader hang. It's not a threads hanging. It's not a TV show. It just makes the film scene incomplete. It's not a TV show. It just makes the film scene incomplete. See the previous review in the Monster Hunter. I debuted any gamer alive who does not know Mortal Kombat. Probably the same goes for material artists, and the instruction between those two groups is far from an empty set. What I am trying to say is a lot of people who actually practice material artists were probably waiting for this movie to come out. The trailer is the awesome. The cast included people like Joe Taslim, Warrior the Right, Tadanabu Asen, and the Louis Tan. Of course, we cannot forget Haruko Sadan, Najina in the Dragon Den, The Last Samurai. Suffice it to say the community was the happen, or at least I was. So without further ado, let us dive into what the final podcast was like. I will try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. Overview. The basic plot of the movie is the same as the game. Earth is in danger from an invasion by the forces of Outworld, having lost 9 Mortal Kombat tournaments in a row, where are one lost anyway from being announced by the force of the Shang Tsung. Our only hope lies in the chosen fighters who bear the mark of the Mortal Kombat, a burn mark that looks like the game logo. The film starred Louis Tan as the Collie Young, a pro MMA fight who bears the mark and is the tragic by. Try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. Try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. Overview. The basic plot of the movie is the same as the game. Earth is in danger from an invasion by the forces of Outworld. Having lost 9 Mortal Kombat tournaments in a row, where are one lost anyway from being annexed by the force of the Shang Tsung, our only hope lies in the chosen fighters who bear the mark of the Mortal Kombat, a burn mark that looks like the game logo. The film star Louis Tan as Collie Young, a pro MM fighters who bear the mark, and is the tragedy by the ninja assassin Sub-Zero, played by Joe Toslim. Shortly afterwards, we meet the test of our cast of the champions from Earth and the challenges they will face to save us. Movie review 6 over 10. They good. It's hard to review a movie like this without spoiling much. The story is quite decent. It's a twist on the no narrative from the games. The focus of the film is on Collie Young, Fu and original characters. Completely unaware of what comes, he had the mark since birth and does not know what is mean until he meets the other characters. Collie work as a point of view characters for people not too familiar with the games. Beside Collie, the film included Sony Jax. It's hard to review a movie like this without spoiling much. The story is quite decent. It's a twist on the no narrative from the game. The focus of the film is on Collie Young, Wu and original characters. Completely unaware of what coming, he had the mark since birth and does not know what is mean until the meets the other characters. Coley work as a point of view characters for people not so familiar with the games. Beside Coley, the film includes Sonny Jax, Kano and a plethora of the characters from the series. Apart from them, the only characters who stand out are R.B. Han, Sub-Zero and the Haruko Sanders as the Hanzo Hasashi Scorpio. Story-wise, at least for me, the most interesting part is that the mark is what allows champions to unlock their powers. So it's not that some random humans can't throw fireballs and stuff like that. Only the chosen ones. Speaking of the fireballs, the visual effects are quite good. The not quite human characters look very real, at least some, and the special powers too. The characters actually do the stuff from the games. from Sub-Zero freezing people and or using Arts played to Scorpio. Why introduce a completely new characters in the first in piece? In the first is place. I really like Louis Tan and his portrayal of Collie is great. If the plan was to introduce the viewer slowly to the world of the Mortal Kombat, I get it, but it does not quite work. We meet a lot of characters from the both side, which is nice but ends up being just I can't. As I said, few of the characters stand out, most barely get a line, and even few get any development. The chosen of the characters is a bystander. The good characters are from the first two games, while the bad guys included some from more recent games. To sum up, a lot of characters who barely do anything aside from the fighting each other and a nice hero journey that we have already seen in the better movie. The use of key perhaps from the game like the fatality, finish him and the like would be a nice note to the franchise, except that they are used in a very obvious way that feels article and forced. Almost like someone said they had to include it them and they were added at least moment. Martial Arts Review 7 over 10. The good. In general, the fights are pretty good. The integral fight between Hanzo and the Lin Kui ninjas is just awesome. Great use of the Kui and drops, which goes with the characters, but Santa does a great job. Hell, all in all, Joe Taslim on his part is also a good, as he always is. I love him in the Warrior. But in this cast, the visual effect, him using his ice power and all, combine perfectly Louis Tan. Fights are also quite good. His fight looks pretty much like a real one. His final fight with the characters I won't spoil is right on the point. There are a few other moments with other characters too, but those are the highlights. With other characters too, but those are the highlights. The bad, those are the most memorable fights, and that's part of the problem. For a movie that should be centered on fight, they are not overall that good. Generated the need to have a lot of characters, some not quite human, and special power make it all more difficult. So a lot of characters means a lot of fights, but less screen time for each one. Less screen time means you cannot really show the beats, choreography basically quite no quality. As video game adaptation go, Mortal Kombat is a decent one, not the best, but definitely far from the rose. The film ends with some plot notes, hood dining and a hint of what they might do in the next one. If it happens, I really don't know if that going to happen. The highlight of the movie is the main cast, but the story and the action does not quite go along. That's why I give it a 6 out of 10. If they make a second one, I hope they fix the issue this one had. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comment sections. Short on time, here the geese Mortal Kombat 2021 certainly available on the HBO Max, available on our rocks and in the theaters is a satisfying adaptation that degrades larger element of the source material but the captures its spirit very well. Great action sequences are the highest with a plot that exists to justify them. However, some characters don't get as much time in the spotlight as they deserve and the music does nothing to hide the actions. Mortal Kombat 2021 sort of spent onto my radar from the nowhere. I enjoy the recent stares in the Mortal Kombat franchise for their gameplay and the robot for the game story modes, but it's certainly not my main fighting game franchise to follow. As such, I was aware that there had been talks about, but there have been talks practically since 1997 Mortal Kombat animations and how many other video games movie have been in the works for year anything actually materialized when the trailer dropped in. Mortal Kombat 2021 sort of spare onto my radar from nowhere. On to my Raider from Nowhere. I enjoy the recent interiors in the Mortal Kombat franchise for their gameplay and the robbers for the genre story modes. But it's certainly not my main fighting game franchise to follow. As such, I was aware that there had been talks about film projects, but there have been talks practically since 1997 Mortal Kombat animations and how many other video game movies have been in the work for years without anything actually material. So I was surprised when the trailer dropped in the February, posing a material arts heavy return to the franchise roots. Even more surprisingly is that the trailer had been cautiously optimism. Historically most video game movie have been trash, but this look alright. So did the final product hold up? It definitely exceeded my expectations. The film largely engrossed the specified events and scenery of the video game, but might be better for it. For example, a heretical setting for the reality between Sub-Zero and Scorpio really lets the film delve into making the classic blade swap due to in the very different, distinct characters they have become. This is just one of the significant shifts to the backstory from most fighters, but it all works well enough and ends with the exacting comparts, developing fighting style recognized to game fans. The new protagonist was a surprisingly decent addition to the mythology. Twinning is tracked to difference between the film and game storyline rather than the bullet to auditions. Many fans accepted Kano and Jax are similar to their personality from the games and both provide good performance with quality. Liu Kang and Kong Chao are presents with a similar personality to their game incarnation but very different storyline roles. This was an interesting change from 1995 Mortal Kombat, which used Robin So Liu Kang in the main protagonist role. Sonya Blade really does not get the due in action sequence, but is well played with an interesting storyline role. In addition to some issue with the Sonya not getting the power, screen time or respect she out. This is also very true of the Raiden, Shang Tsung or any of the later gods. I hesitate to say that this could have done with a few characters so everyone features could get a decent level of the spotlight. And this does not resolve Sony issue, but that's the feeling I am left with. The plot is not really anything special, but for a game's adaptation is interesting is that does not follow the typical Mortal Kombat formula of a tournament between Earth and the overworld, avoiding comparison with the previous MK film and the games by taking place before the title tournament. Still, just like the tournament, the story exists as an excuse. The show calls fighting sequence and does a great job of these and getting characters into interesting fight locations. Music, unfortunately, is the letdown normally. Should have bothered me, but the soundtrack 1995 Mortal Kombat was such. Music, unfortunately, is a letdown normally. This would have bearded me, but the soundtrack to 1995 Mortal Kombat was such an excellent feat. Mortal Kombat 2021 soundtrack makes a few call back to that the classic, but it mostly fairly slow, generic epic film music. In all, however, the movie is fun enough and is certainly better than I had accepted. It definitely won't change your life or anything, but as a good, volume material arts from it delivers survivable plot and the characterizations frame excellent fight sequence, especially the first and last of them. Is there a sequel fully it keep on the same run of quality? I did love to see the tournament with. In all over, however, the movie is fun enough and certainly better than I had expected. It definitely would change your life or anything, but as a good volume material art ROMs, it develops Volant materials arts ROM, it delivers survivable plot and the characterizations frame excellent fight sequence, especially the first and the last of them. If there's sequel, hopefully it will keep on the same run of the quality. I did love to see the tournament with this level of quality action. Mortal Kombat is certainly available on HBO Max Bro or Roku to use our subscriptions and in theaters, and it's available to place on hold on the DVD and the Blu-ray. Review Mortal Kombat 2021 movie. I had a wait to week longer than I wanted to and paid for another month of the HBO Max because of the delay, but it was 48. If you are a fan of the video game franchise, you absolutely need to ignore the review, but it for yourself and draw your own conclusions. Time have changed in the 26 years since the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie hit theaters. It generated a sequel 2 years later. Anyone who wanted movie adaptation of video games made during the 1990 remembers how influential had most of them were. Mortal Kombat 95 was one of the rare expectations. Then the 1997 follow-up Mortal Kombat allegations came out. It was two steps back due to the comedy elements added to the movie. The second movie was made to coincide with the then recently released Mortal Kombat 3. Both movies are remembered much more fondly by fans of the source material for the simple fact the characters were not made. The second movie was made to coincide with then recently released Mortal Kombat 3. Both movies are remembered much more fond by fans of the source material for the simple fact the characters were not made goofy and over the top. See the Street Fighter movie. Both movies focused on telling a story and were both rated PG-30 to the appeal to a wider audience. In exchange, the stylized fight sequence left a thunder mark of the video game outfit lies. Fast forward 24 years. It's more than fair to say the legendary railway between Scorpion and Sub-Zero is one of the most known rivalries in gaming history. Their costumes in the movie are modeled after their costume from the two most recent games, Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11. I won't get into plot spoiler, but how they incorporated Coley Young and the original characters not from the video game into the movie was very respectfully and nicely done. Like the 95 movie, Sonya kills Kano, we did get to see Scorpio twisty on Sub-Zero in the end as well. The backdrop for the movie goes like this. Shang Tsung sent assassins to kill Earthrealm champions before the 10th Mortal Kombat tournament begins. In doing so, Earth would suffer its the 10th loss by 44 to our realm. The questions are those we have a dragon mark you usually get by killing someone who has who has won or a warrior from another realm, but in Cole's case he was born. The backdrop for the movie goes like this. Shang Tsung sends assassins to kill Earthrealm champions before the 10th Mortal Kombat tournament begins. In doing so, Earth would suffer its then loss by forfeit to the Outrealm. Forfeit to the Outrealm. The chosen are those who have a dragon mark. You usually get one by killing someone who has won a warrior from the another realm, but in Call use. He was born with his. There is special reason for that. I won't spoil. Jax loses his arm to Sub-Zero, but it's later outfitted with the protective arm. Those arms upgrade to the dynamic look we all know and love later in the movie. Shang Tsung does not fight, but he does take Kung Lao's soul, even using the iconic "Your soul is my" line from the 95 movie. I forget to say the before, but Sonya generated her dragon mark after she killed Kano. Oh, and before I forget, Kano kills Reptile. He even uses his the fatality ripping Reptile heart out. Kung Lao fatality happens before the lose his soul to Shang Tsung as well. Oh, and the Scorpions, who was in the opening scenes, written from the Netherrealm, this time wearing his the trademark costume for the shutdown with Sub-Zero. Bi-Han in the final fight of the movie, Shang Tsung was playing the role by sending assassins to kill off the Earth-chosen warrior before the Mortal Kombat tournament actually being. So Raiden did the same things by bringing Scorpion from the Earthrealm to help qualified Sub-Zero, helping Scorpion get vengeance for his life. For his wife and son aside, there was another reason Scorpion helped Colorbat due to spoiler I won't say. For those who may be wondering everyone from the very first Mortal Kombat games in the future except Journey Cage. Cage is the referred in the ending scenes as one of a new batch of chosen warrior. It is worth to point out unlike the 95 movie, the Mortal Kombat tournament never actually took place in the 2021 movie. My guess is the next movie, assuming there is one and there. For those who may be wondering, everyone from the very first Mortal Kombat game is the feature except the Johnny Cage. Cage is referred in the reading scenes as one of a new batch of the chosen warrior. It is worth pointing out, unlike the 95 movie, the Mortal Kombat tournament never actually took place in the 2021 movie. My guess is the next movie, assuming there is one and there certainly should be, will have the actually tournament take place. One that not. Jotos who played Sub-Zero B-Hand revealed 2 months ago he is committed to doing at least 4 more movies. No sequel has been officially announced yet, but certainly he directed Simone, MC Quiet, and the co-story writer Craig Russian are playing the next movie. Hyuko Sanada, who plays Scorpion Hanzo Hashi, experienced a lot of enjoyment making the movie and screamed to express convince in there being a follow movie. Time will let, time will tell. One notable change from the 95 version is in that versions everyone except Sub-Zero and the Scorpion got a somewhat flesh out backstory. All we know it is that both work from the Shang Tsung and it's assumed the viewer know who they are. In the movie, their story is so important to the story movie beings and ends with it. Overall, I give the movie 10 over 9. I wish it was a little longer. Another 10 to 15 minutes would have been niche, but clearly they did not want to make the same easy mistake other made and try to do too much. I can certainly see where and how they could done that more than a few times when being amazing. That would have handcuffed the packing and the storytelling is unlike the 95 version. There is no tournament in the movie. It's expectly stated by Shang Tsung and the raid in the tournament has not started yet during the events of the movie. Raiden saying at the end he building a list of new fighters for the next tournament was probably a way of saying this will count as the Mortal Kombat. Shang Tsung already broke the rules of the assuming chosen warrior before the tournament started. He reveals the gods are forbidden from the in interfering in a war between religion. Raiden and the expectations are protect of the Earthrealm. He clearly presumed victory and the more so were we said to Raiden, the other gods are too lazy to try to stop me. This will probably be clarified later, but it looks like Raiden considered the movie events Mortal Kombat since they were clearly winner and the deaths. As for who many be in the next movie, I do agree with those who have said Johnny Cage will be a tournament character. I am going to presume Kitten will be features alongside the reveal Milena as well. Anyone who play the games should already know that is the really permanent. Goro and the Kono others who died may also be at least mentioned. Nightfall force the pictures appear, it's also a possibility. I do think the balance tags with this movie was good. Less is more, having the focus on a dozen or so characters kept things manageable not just for fans of the series but newcomers too. If someone who has never heard of the Mortal Kombat games were to watch this movie, they would get a pretty good feel for it, just like the 95 version offered. You can be certain. I reckon I solved the mysteries of why Warner's much happened material artist fancy blockbuster is not getting a cinema release in the UK inspired by the legendary video games and the part of a mega franchise. This Robert of the film series is full of bombs and gore. It will intrigue, if not entirely satisfies, the army of adult MK devotes who spend survival hours a day on their console and know and release every cheesy line of the dialogues from the 1995 movie starting Christopher Lambert, but as recent US box office recipes show that army is limited in science. Why waste money on a big screen release when there's so much more to be made simply by allowing a key demography twins and the young tens to watch it at home? For from sake, let me fill you is on the plot. We serve up and the entirely new characters and MMA fighters with the mysterious birthmark. Far from sake, let me fill you in on the plot. We survive up an entirely new characters and MMA fighter with the mysterious birthmark Collie Young. As Collie is about to discover his worth, aka Earthrealm is under theaters thanks to an ongoing beef between two supernatural beings, Lord Raiden, god of thunder and the lightning, and Shang Tsung, a soul-guzzling geezer in the charge of a planet overworld. Arcola is about to discover his world aka Earthrealm is under theaters thanks to an ongoing beef between two supernatural beings, Lord Raiden, god of thunders and the lightning, and Shang Tsung, a soul-guzzling geezer in charge of a can create all planet overworld. Black in 1617 Tsung's top henchman Behan Sub-Zero, wonderful Jyot is limb from the right, kill the family of the Muslim ninja Hanzo Hasashi. Raiden step in and save the baby girl. Magic call be on of her. Decent elite military officer Jake certainly thinks so. With Sub-Zero now tragedy Kolo and his family, it's up to Jack's telling Coligos Noya Blad, along with the unreliable Australian Cano, to escort Collie to a temple where two monks will help him train from the fights of his life. There are some excellent actors in this movie. Unfortunately, Ten nods one of them. Even the aforementioned baby delivers a more layered performance. To be fair, the lines the 34 years old Pete has to deliver are the treble, but Ten's the probable he crap. So is MC quiet direction during the fights. We can't appreciate what the actors' body are doing because the camera is too close and the edits fuzzy. The production design is the Sony. The film is watchable for their reason. The death scenes, once involving again taboo, is the awesome. The enjoyable dressing costume Liu Kang looks like his fashions. Good is Doran John Taylor. Good is Doran John Taylor. I am fall for killing machines with the big hair and the considered fist. And last but not least, Cano. Review Mortal Kombat 2021. A couple of weeks after our USA friends go to watch this movie via HBO Max, and we are not better about that honest. Mortal Kombat finally make its way to UK shores. The movie, a new live-action Robert of the Mortal Kombat film series, is available from all major streaming platforms from Tuesday and tells the story of an Asian fighting tournament where combats bad tie it out to the death. In the movie, various warriors are recruited to compete in the tournament, included Call and the double MA fight. Who cares and the usual birthmark? Unbeknown to Call, this mark means he is perhaps to be one of the Earthmice champions in a fight of the good versus evil. Along with the Sonya Blade, Jax and the Kinon, Cole is then transported to a mysterious temple where he meets other champions, including Raiden, Liu Kang, and the Kung Lao. He learns more about his destiny, unlocks the secret hidden power he did not know he had, and squares off against the bad guys. Mortal Kombat is directed by Simone MC Quaid and star Jesse's MC name Joseon Lewson, Jane Han, and the Mackie Brox. If you wish to rent the film, then check out the like of Amazon Prime Video, Tunes and the Chili etc., where it will be set you back around $50.9 million. Now, before I talk about the movie, I should quickly mention that Mortal Kombat will be one of the last biggest release to be exclusive to video on demand VOD service in the UK before cinema reborn from the 17 May 2021. UK cinema will flying open their doors to the public following the lifting of the conversation lockdowns, so all of 2021 major temple release should start hitting the big screen movie forward. Okay, back to Mortal Kombat, and if my plot description seems very short, it's because the movie has barely any story. Oh, there's a bit there and a bite there, but this film boasts a narrative which is held together by gaffer tape and the hope. I know most people watching Mortal Kombat are not checking it out the story, but I feel it is some things will needs to be addressed early gross to be addressed early doors because damn there nothing going on there. This a 100 minutes movie which is legally section of fight scenes which take place in the warehouse or on soundstage, and that's about it. The film does explore the Mortal Kombat mythology with plenty of time devoted to the lore, but it's happened on so thick that it's all become a bite of snow's fist. For the first half of this movie, I felt as if I was watching a Mortal Kombat 101 video telling me everything I never wanted to know about the games, and that is not the way to win over new audience. Now the good thing is, if you are a big fan of the games, you will appreciate all this world building, and you will also appreciate the inclusion of most of the iconic MC characters. You will love seeing Netera, Reptile and Goro, and in the particle you will love the fact that fan favorite bad guys Sub-Zero gets plenty of screen time. Sub-Zero is my all-time favorite MK actor, and I do enjoy seeing him on screen. He looks cool, no pun interested, and he is a trend highlight amongst the cast. Sub-Zero is my all-time favorite MK actors, and I do enjoy seeing him on screen. He looks cool, no pun interested, and he is a trend highlight among the cast. Another highlight is Kano, played by Josh Lawson. Lawson gets all the best lines and has some characters development which can be said for anyone else. Sub-Zero and Kano are the only interesting characters in these interior pictures. Everyone else is boring, flat or forgettable. Is this the fault of the cast or the fault of the screenwriters? I am going to say it's the fault of the screenwriters who failed to inject and the pizza into this ensemble. If one character was a bite still and the lifeless, then I could zero in one that actor, but it's all of them. None of the actors are given anything to work with, and watching them go through the mention is the painful and the slim including. Thankfully, every time I came close to nodding off, a big action fight scenes took places, and this kept me kind of invested in what was going on. The fight scenes are well choreography and all the blood and guts. The games are narrative for it also presents and the correct. This is this is not a movie which shies away from the delivering glorious death scenes or some deadly finish movie. And if you have always wanted to watch a blood-thirsty live-action Mortal Kombat movie, then this is a most certainly that. This is also a movie which goes to great length to make all of the characters look good on screen. Sure, almost all of them lack any personality, but I can't fault how a balance is struck between the computer game authentic and the reality. Well done to the custom department for the helping to bring these guys to the life best. Well done to the custom department for the helping to bring these guys to life the best way possible, and while I am throwing out Paris a pat on the back to the effect team too. You deliver some decent value You delivered some decent visuals, easy tackle during Sub-Zero final battle, arguably the best scenes in the movie, and it has not gone unnoticed. I think it is pretty clear that I won't be wreck or mad Mortal Kombat, but I do feel that this is a movie which has been made. I think it is a pretty clear that I won't be wreck or madding Mortal Kombat, but I do feel that this is a movie which has been made with the best intentions and by a director who like this gaming series. Sure, this movie has plenty of faults, but this is not due to a lack of interest or because the director studio is keen to pump out any old rubbish. Why this movie falls is because it does not tell events itself about the game series. It understands the word. It knows exactly what the fan favorite moments are going to be, but it does not create a story to bring its a lot gather, and because of this, it's only mildly watchable at best. The best way I can describe Mortal Kombat is this is a fan film, an expensive fan film, but a fan film not less. I did not hate it. I just found myself not caring about it, and all timely. I wondered why this was made in a big screen movie rather than just a web series. Those who adore the Mortal Kombat games will find enjoyable enough as it is made specially for you, but for everyone else it's very forgettable. I expected hardcore fans hardcore fans will help it to secure a sequel, so it not came over, but it is a non-star for me. Almost 30 years after Mortal Kombat changed the fighting game landscape forever, a robber to the film franchise based on these brutally violent games arrive in theaters and on HBO Max for the 30 days. Here's the important things for the fans to know. It's a R-rated as the games themselves. For the first time really, the truly gorgeous appeal of the Mortal Kombat make it to the big screen complete with the some combo fighting movie pulled directly from the game. Certainly character space, catch, perhaps, and even a few formulas facilities, and the fishing movie that included Spanish being wrapped from the bodies through the top of our. There are some showdowns that will appeal to people who have played all of the MK games, which included yours truly believe it or not, included matchups that influence now classic video game characters like Sub-Zero, Kano Raiden, and many more, while the film comes to life in ways that video game flicks often fails to do in its action scenes. It grinds to a halt during a deadly long training destiny centerpiece that drags the film out to almost 110 minutes, and then it ends with a vampire setting up what feels like a franchise instead of providing a satisfying final. Sure, video games are not exactly no foreclosure, but so much of Mortal Kombat feels like setup that you will just wish someone could have finished it. Simon MC Quiet make his direction debut with the Mortal Kombat, which has basically been in production for a quarter century, giving there was supposed to be a third film from the 90s series. Simon MC Quiet make this directional about with the Mortal Kombat, which has basically been in production for a quarter century, given there was supposed to be a third film from the 90s series that Love Pure W.S. Anderson but fell into development here after the failure of 1997 Assemble, Mortal Kombat, Annihilation's MC Quad works from a script by the Greg Russians and the Devil Campbell that clearly familiar with the source material, dropping in fan favorite like the Raiden and the Liu Kang but also digging a little deeper to bring to life characters like Melina and a truly daggy CGI version of the Goro. An effective prologue opens the film in 17th century Japan, and the Lee Kui assassins led by B. Hanjo Teslim attack Hanzo Hashim, Haruko Senda and his family, killing Hanzo's wife and son with his, shall we say, freeze power. The choreography in this first scene is the surprisingly strong, blending movie familiar to MK fans with a level of intense combat that you do not really see made by Hollywood anymore. Think plates stuck through the tops of head. Hanzo is killed by Behan, but his speed is taken to the Netherlands, where he will become well fans of the games. No, but the movie keep it a secret long enough that I won't spoil it there. The film then jumps forward to reveal that Outworld has won 9. The film then jumps forward to reveal that Outworld has won 9 out of 10 tournament in Mortal Kombat, meaning one more will spell the end of the Earthrealm because villains never play fair. Shang Tsung decides to ring the final tournament in a scenes by the Premier League, killing the champions of the Earthrealm, sending his figure to dispatch that one by one, and the double MA fighter named Collie Young, a new character to the MK universe, has always wondered what his dragon birthmark means and discovered that he is one of the aforementioned champions when Sub-Zero comes from him and his family. Jax tries to warn him of his destiny before getting his arms frozen and tripped off by the classic video game villain. It may not be for destiny before getting his arm frozen and ripped off by the classic video game villain. It may not be for those easily turned off by violence, but the truth is that Mortal Kombat really comes to life in these fight sequences and their fatality, finally putting on film what fans of the games have loved for a long in a way that most people thought they would never really see. You will wish there were more of them after a strong first act of MK1 on one combat. It became less of a focus, much to the detriment of the movie. Kolo finds his way to Sonya Blade, who along with the voice-cracking Kano takes our truly bland protagonist to Raiden Temple to train for the upcoming tournament. And here where Mortal Kombat came to a halt, where each character has to spare to learn their arcana or special power, and the self-serious dialogue spin it wheels around destiny and responsibility. It's a shame that producers of the Mortal Kombat movie are convinced that there needs to be long trigger prep sections in the middle of their stories. No one wants to play a tutorial and horror after they have started the game, and the wheel spinning head remains all possible moments for a movie that runs close to 2 hours. It should really be illegal to be a video game film that's almost as long as Judges and the Black Maces. Mortal Kombat recovered a bite with some climactic fight, included a pretty strong one between the two most legendary characters in this franchise, but long before then, fans will probably know how they feel about this flick, one that unhideable better than MK Annihilation but feels unlikely to me to maintain the same nor slick kicks as the original Edison film. There enough strong choreography and direct appeal to the fan base to keep them just barely entertained long enough to go back and play one of the excellent recent edition of the series. 2029 Mortal Kombat 11 is seller by the way. Maybe that all that matters, but it sure does not feel like the cinematic quality that fans truly deserve after all these years of the fighting. Mortal Kombat Review 2021 version is more games over than Flawless victory. I am not going to hold up 1995 Mortal Kombat as some masterpiece of cinema, but it is the enjoyable and does not take itself too seriously, which is more than I can say for 2021 self-serious plotting missed that mistake revenge for the authentic. The Mortal Kombat games catch on not just because they were gory, but because they were fun and the small MC quiet adaptation never managed to deliver. Combat games catch on not just because they were gory but because they were fun and the small MC quiet adaptation never managed to deliver on that simple promise. Instead, the movie shifts between the vicious sketch of a plot and dull fight scenes that take some of cinema's greatest material artists and cut around them like they are movie stars faking it as best they can. The new adaptation tries to take by on gruesome fatalities, but as anyone who has played the game can tell you, exacting a fatality is a review for the victory. Mortal Kombat never earns the bloody payoff. The film star off with a flag in 1617 Japan, where Hanzo Hasashi fights Pihan. The film star off with a prologue in 1617 Japan, where Hanzo Hasashi fight Pihan, a member from a warring clan who has the power to create ice and use it as a weapon. Fans will recognize these two as the protagonists of franchise stalwart characters Scorpion and Sub-Zero, respectively, but then we get to the modern day and are introduced to new characters. Collie Young. Collie is a field MMA fighter, but he has a special birthmark of a dragon. The birthmark is an invasion to a throw mark known as well Mortal Kombat, where the champions of the Earthrealm must defeat the forces of Outworld led by the nefarious Shang Tsung. Skewed in this tournament for the fate of the world, Collie teams up with the Special Forces soldiers Jax. As Mortal Kombat were champions of Earthrealm must defeat the forces of the Outworld led by the nefarious Shang Tsung. Skirted in this tournament for the fate of the world, Collie teams up with the Special Forces soldiers Jax and Sonya Blade as well as Dirtbag Mercy Kno to find the temple of Lord Raiden, where they can fight alongside fellow warriors Liu Kang and Kung Lao. However, the forces of the Outworld have no intention of the fighting fair and hope to eliminate the champions before Mortal Kombat can even take place. 1995 Mortal Kombat would seem to be case of it and Broken don't fix it, but screenwriters Craig Russians and the Devin Campbell are determined to fix it by axing the good fitness of the premium and even the sound structure of copying Enter the Dragon. The movie goes out of its way to deny the audience where they want the Mortal Kombat tournament and instead settle on a conflicted structures where Collie and his pals amble along, have an occasion fight, and then near the end of the story you get a fights montage where it like they forget that a Mortal Kombat movie should have the fighters killing each other, so it all got stuffed into the third act. This marks for the disappointed and the lethargic aware with the strong. Where are they going to get to the fireworks? Others so it all got stuffed into the third act. This makes for the disjoints and the electric affair with the strong. When are they going to get to the firework factory videos? This is in addition to saddling the film with the blandest protagonist possible in the call, who has no arc and the thinnest motivation of the fighting for this movie for his wife and the daughter. A Mortal Kombat movie would not really need rich, interesting character if it knew how to have a good time, but it falls into the trap that the franchise need to be repeated. In an interview with the Pyogon, Russian credited the 1995 film as a delicious cheesy and that the new versions should be more authentic, a little more realistic, but in the service to what exactly? The 1995 Mortal Kombat benefited from the A Mortal Kombat movie would not really need rich, interesting characters if it knew how to have a good time, but it falls into the trap that the franchise need to be the respected. In an interview with the Plogon, Russian credited the 1995 film as a deliciously cheesy and that the new version should be more authentic, a title more realistic but in service to what exactly the 1995 Mortal Kombat defected from the games only being 3 years old with the video game still being largely considered the province of the children and the teens, hence the film PG-13 rating. But now Mortal Kombat is an attention's one of the longest running video games series around and it has a millions of the fans around the world and the two show respective you must take it seriously which means the interior. But now Mortal Kombat is in instructions, one of the longest running video game series around and it has a million of fans around the world and to show respect you must take it seriously which means the interior project is placed strong face deposit having a characters who kills people with his head. This led to a film but never seems like anyone outside of the lesson playing the comic relief Kano is having a good time. Lawson gets to crack jokes and pop on the screen, but everyone else does not have much of a pulse or even a. This leads to a film that never seems like everyone outside of the lesson playing the comic relief Kano is having a good time. Lawson gets to crack jokes and pop on the screen, but everyone else does not have much of a pulse or even a characters to speak of. They are just very serious people in the very serious fighting tournament where fighters can acquire superpowers when they tap into their speech engines, leading to the realizations for the good guys that the real Mortal Kombat was love for a movie where all we really want to see are people with the cool special movie fighting other people with cool special movie. Mortal Kombat takes the longest road possible and never make it even remotely enjoyable. And while Russian can cast shade on the 95 movie as cheesy, at least it has a personality which is more than I can say for the slow studio product of the 2021 versions. Loaded down with the adulty mythology, the film bends over backwards to try and explain the special lineage of the scorpion as if anyone should give a shit. The film also suddenly avoids even have a personality. Visits to Outworld make the setting look unfinished as the actors sit on a platform with the endless barley sky behind them as if the director never figures out how he wanted this dramatic reel to appear. When the fights finally arrive, they are so rushed that we can never enjoy these set pieces even though they are the Russian. Therefore, a Mortal Kombat movie. One would hope that a Mortal Kombat movie at least skied by honors the action scenes, but even here MC Quiet movie falls short. It kind of the baffling why you would get guys like this Slim Tan and Line guys who can actually fight and know material arts and then not trust them with the longer takes then can deliver the choreography and kitties we accept from a movie called Mortal Kombat. At no point does Mortal Kombat, with the benefit of how technology and the video games themselves have the progress, even capture the fidelity and the brutality of a terrific combo or the bone-breaking heat. Inside, most of the fight feel like going through the motions until they land on a fatality. Perhaps given the death of R-rated action film in the past version people will. Perhaps given the earth of R-rated action film in the past year people will still enjoyable Mortal Kombat themes, gruel of the dumb fan and the mindless violence. People should certainly take joy where they can find it, but it's hard to come by in a film that takes itself so seriously, deposit its silly origins and the silly premiere. Mortal Kombat seems kind of the embarrassed to be Mortal Kombat, so it has ship on off the most popular stuff and then tries to stuff in the respectable franchise clothing better series that give us The abilities and the friendship as the fishing movie does not need to be respectable, it needs to be fun.